Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our TGT series. I feel like I'm not very organised here. Microphone, banners not playing yet. I was all happy about getting the pre-match overlay onto the screen because I quite like it. I don't know if you see it. I'm going to throw up on the screen for you again. This is a work of art. This took me all of, as you can tell, about 15 minutes to put together with the help of my members, putting together who should go into the picture frames. But this actually comes, believe it or not, this comes from an idea of a teacher friend of mine who I used to work with, who, of course, all teachers, as you know, are working from home right now and are having to teach live lessons from home. And that's effectively a screen that she uses for her class while they're waiting for the lesson to start. It's a very similar but a classroom vibe. And I was like, I quite like that. I'm going to steal that and we're going to use that on the podcast. So yeah, I hope you appreciate the effort that's gone into that. I'm going to try and get that as maybe as like a countdown intro, so you know when the show's about to start. I think that's going to be the plan. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I quite like it. But let me know if you do in the chat. Anyway, order of business. I don't care that we're below. I don't care that it may be ironic or hypocritical. I don't care. I'm going to laugh at Jose Mourinho. I'm going to laugh at so many people that were desperate for him to be Arsenal man. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh at it. I'm sorry, but I have no conscience. There's no hypocrisy here from me. I don't care. All right. I'm going to laugh at Mourinho. I'm going to laugh at that because it's just funny. It's so funny because I'm starting to see friends of mine who are Spurs fans. I'm starting to see some personalities that are big Spurs characters on the socials starting to get a little bit irritated, starting to get a little bit fed up, starting to kind of see what I've been bloody preaching about this guy for so long. So long. I never wanted this guy at Arsenal. I never wanted him to come in. It never made any sense. He does the same thing everywhere he goes, and yet for some reason, people think it's going to be different. Pochettino's left Spurs after, 5 minutes and already won a trophy? That's funny in itself. And I know what the common response is you're below Spurs. What are you laughing about? Mourinho's won all these trophies. What are you laughing about? I'm sorry, but it's just funny. It's just funny that some are willing to sacrifice all of their morals and their principles for Mourinho when he would have it's just such a predictable coach. It's so predictable. Thank you, Chatbox. I'm loving the equality in laughing that you have. And I'm sure there'll be people who will leave a comment on the video saying that, what are you laughing about? Where are you in the league compared to them? It doesn't matter. Because you know what? This is actually an opportunity to talk about a little bit of football fandom that's died. I really feel there's a bit like kind of like football fanatics and that kind of thing about being a fan of the game that's partly died in recent times. Back in the day, and I'm being in the schoolyard, I know Michael told me that's only like 3 years ago. Believe it or not, it's a good 15, 20 years ago now. And in the schoolyard, that's such a you guys American term, schoolyard. On the playground is what we call it. And it would just be like laughing at your friends who are supporting other teams. You would laugh at them. You would laugh at the opposition. We don't do that anymore, really. We laugh at each other. We have civil wars within the Arsenal fan base. Like, that is all that Arsenal fandom is now. It's just trying to get one up on someone else or laughing at someone else or them being proved wrong. I miss the days of being able to laugh at oppositions. I know we've not been able to do it too much because of Arsenal being pretty poor over the last decade or so, but I've kind of missed the fact. So if there's going to be Arsenal fans turning around to tell me that I shouldn't be able to laugh at Mourinho, what the hell? Why should I not be able to laugh at Mourinho? Why shouldn't I be able to? He's messing up Spurs. He's going down the same route as they always have, where every club he's been to, where they play defensive, rubbish football and just lose out on games. Arsenal have had a really tough period, but we're coming out of this second period. We're coming out of this now, which is really nice that we had a dip. We've had that. some of us have questioned, and it's always going to be the case, as any good disciple would doubt their leader at some point. We've had that moment. We've always been there. We've had that period of doubting Arteta, but we look like we might be coming out the other side, which is quite nice. 4 wins in a row, maybe. I mean, the Crystal Palace game tonight is huge. I will be joining Hugh Wizzy for the live watch along, so make sure you tune in on Hugh's channel this evening for the game. And always we'll be back on here straight afterwards. Mr. A says we're playing rubbish football. You might want to go watch the West Brom game, mate. Do you want to go watch the West Brom game? Do you want to have a look at that goal? Do you want to have a look at the goal that Aubameyang scored against Newcastle? Rubbish football. Oh, the salt. Some people didn't like Arteta. Didn't really like him. Can't stand your own manager winning. I love it. I love it. I love the saltiness. It feels so good. No, I'm having fish tonight, and guess what's going on? A little bit of salt with Nicola Pepe. It's going on my fish this evening. I love the saltiness of fans that just hate Arsenal winning, even though they're supposed Arsenal fans. It's great. We can always laugh at the scum, says Matt. Always. It's just we have to capitalise now. That's what we do. You're spot on, Toby. We have to capitalise now. We have to win the games going forwards. Otherwise, I'm gonna look like an idiot. I'm gonna look like an idiot. I know that. Bulgarian Goose says, "I love snobby Tom." Yeah, it's just we've had so much rubbish this season that I like being able to be happy again. I like being able to talk about Arsenal in a positive way and laughing at those lot. You know who they are. Oh, God. Undefeated in 2021. Inject it into my veins, says Michael Anders. It's just great. I love it. It's absolutely wonderful. Anyway, let's talk about something serious. I had a few people message me saying, Tom, can you do a tactical breakdown on Richard Garlick? Which, by the way, I wrote an entire article on him, which I hadn't realised was being auto-corrected to the vegetable. Is it a vegetable or is it a herb? That's a good discussion. Flying fish levels of discussions there. Is garlic a vegetable or a herb? I don't know. But it was auto-correcting to just garlic the whole way through. And I didn't even realise. Yes, Sahil, I am. I'll be on there with you a little bit later today. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about Richard Garlick. If you want my honest view on this guy, I don't know anything about him. This is very similar. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to go and do this, he's going to go and do that. Only people who know exactly what he's done at the Premier League can have any genuine opinion, like any opinion at all about any. Like I can just see it. I can picture it now. People jumping onto the channels and going, we should have got a Ralph Rangnick. When that was never going to happen. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not the role that was on advertised for. It was not kind of the role that Arsenal wanted. All this is a person that's coming in to replace Huss Farmy. This was never a Ralph Rangnick level position that was vacant at the club that needed to be filled. It was never that level of person. It was never that position. And so for that reason, you can't really be annoyed at this. Like, it's not really something that you can really be annoyed about. Really, I mean, feel free in the chat box to justify me a reason why we can be annoyed at this. I don't think it's something. I mean, I'm sure Arsenal fans will find a way, but it's just not really. I mean, the debate about Garlick in the chat box right now is quite funny. It's not really something that I could be too frustrated with. I mean, let's read the Guardian's article about him. I know it's on The Athletic, but The Athletic is a service that people pay for, and I don't want to be showing their paywall stuff live for you guys. I don't think that's very fair. So let's read the Guardian's article, which is free and a great publication. Garlick will join Arsenal's executive team and add expertise to a group that has been light in numbers during recent months, working alongside the technical director Edu, manager Mikel Arteta, and academy manager Per Mertesacker. He will oversee football operations in the first team and academy, as well as player contract management and relationships with football's governing bodies. Now, what is key and what is you should be really kind of happy about this is that Arsenal are bringing more kind of heads into the game, because we are so light in executive level. We've got, as we've talked about there, Edu, you've got Arteta the coach, you've got Josh, and you've got Vinay, and you've got obviously Per Mertesacker in the academy. And beyond that, there's not a lot of people that are doing these jobs. And before we had Raul Sanyehi and Sven Mislintat and Hus Farmi and Francis Kajigal, Brian McDermott, and 55 other members of staff that were made redundant, all of a sudden, Arsenal were very, very light in expertise in kind of these areas. And there was a lot of jobs being done by people that maybe they should have been not, that maybe they should not have been having those responsibilities and should be more focused on the things that they're best at and more specified at and that they're more kind of tailored to do. I think this is a good thing, obviously. I think it's a good thing that someone's coming in. It's a good thing that someone's experienced, that's worked with the Premier League is a good thing. And I just, I think it's a positive way that this is going and that we've got someone in. We've come for a really, really tough period. I wrote an article today about kind of how we got to this stage, about how we got to the situation where we're at, where we've left Arsene Wenger, who was a guy that was in charge of so many different things at the club, to the point where as soon as he left, there was a massive chasm of like responsibilities that needed to be filled. And the only way that we could fill those responsibilities was by ultimately employing lots of people. And by employing lots of people, what we've done is, in a way, not really thought too hard about how they would fit together. Now, before I go on, I just want to say a massive thank you to Vinny Eagle for upgrading your membership. Absolute legend, mate. I know you're an avid listener and you've now joined the Expert Members crew. So come and join the Discord server. It'd be an absolute pleasure to have you in the crew, mate. And we'll speak to you soon. I'll leave a link to that in the community tab straight after the show comes to a conclusion. So what we did is when Raul Sanyehi came in and Sven Mislintat came in and Vinay Venkatesham moved into his role, and then Ivan Gazidis left. It left the club in the hands of people that were still very new to their roles and ultimately weren't gelling very well. Sven Mislintat, of course, left, and it is pretty well documented now, and you can read articles about. All you need to type is why Sven Mislintat left Arsenal. It will come up with plenty of information and interviews that he's done. Football London, I think I've got some quotes, as do The Independent as well. So feel free to go check those out. But he left because of a conflict of interests and a conflict of kind of mindset about what he wanted to do with recruitment and what Raul Sanyehi wanted for Arsenal with agents and types of players that he thought were best for the club and short-term gains through established players in their prime rather than maybe looking ahead to the future and bringing in more players of the likes of Guendouzi and Mavropanos, and actually shifted more towards the David Luiz's, and eventually we saw with the Willian signing as well, and Cedric as well. So Sven leaves. We're then left with out kind of that recruiter for a serious period of time until Edu was brought in, which was, I think, a good 6 to 8 months later, which is a good amount of time between recruiters. And then we have a situation where Raul then goes. Now, the actual reason why Raul Sanyehi left is still something that is debated, alleged, speculated upon, and I'm not going to come out of any claims as to specifically why he was left. All I know is allegedly not all was well behind the scenes, is what I'll say, which led to his departure beyond just the COVID situation. So you've got that. And then Hus Farmi hands his notice in. Hus Farmi worked through his notice period and then left. He handed a notice in, whether that was enforced or allegedly enforced or he chose to do it. We're not 100% sure, but he's gone. He moved on. And there's been a lot of change as well as the managerial side of things, of Unai Emery going, taking quite a while to find Mikel Arteta, and then the roller coaster of a ride that we've gone on with Arteta. So a lot of change has happened. And if there's one thing Arsenal need right now, it's stability. And maybe getting this guy in maybe is one of the final pieces of the puzzle that we need. It's still a young group. I don't expect them to get split up anytime soon. It's something that I think is certainly worth looking at and kind of talking about in terms of them being very inexperienced, being in their late, Arteta being 38 and the others being 40 to 42 years of age, Josh, Vinay, Edu. It's worth it to bring up as a point, but now that we've got it, it's not going to change. And we need to now accept that stability and understand that that is going to be what's going to happen moving forwards, and hope and pray that the right decisions are made. And you look at some of the decisions that have been made recently in the transfer market. You look at Thomas Partey, you look at Gabriel, you look at Martinelli, you look at Tierney, and they're good signs. They are good signs. Yes, there's been mistakes. Willian is a very obvious one, but you hope that maybe, and I think from what I understand and from what from the amount of information that you kind of heard, that where you can kind of piece things together, I have a feeling that Raul Sanllehi had a lot to do with the Willian thing, more so than Edu. And now that Raul was gone, the next summer window is going to be really kind of it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the summer window. January has always been about outgoings, and I think if Arsenal manage to move on, say Kolasinac on loan, Saliba get his loan, Socrates go out, Ozil move on, you have to put your hands together and say fair play Edu for getting these deals done in January, and going, you know what, he's done some really stuff that we didn't think was going to be possible. If you had put a vote ahead of January, like well ahead of January, when we knew that he wasn't going to be in the Premier League squad, and if there was a vote saying, will he be here after January and just run down his contract, I am pretty much sure that the majority of the people voting would have said that Ozil was going to be here into the end of his contract, whether he played or not. So the fact that we might be able to move him on is definitely a plus in Edu's favour, to move that guy on and get that money off the wage bill, and even maybe, as we've heard from The Athletic, forego up to £7 million worth of wages, which is a lot of money that can then get put into deals in the summer. I think it's a good way. I'm not going to get really excited. I'm not going to get like utterly ecstatic about things, because we have to remain grounded and we have to remain very measured about the situation that we're in. If we lose to Palace tonight, which I'm well aware now, I've made a show about laughing at Mourinho hours before we play against Crystal Palace. But if we lose to Palace tonight, the mood amongst you guys and the fan base, I understand it's going to be rock bottom. It's going to be really, really low. Really low. And we are a very reactionary fan base. And if you think about how the mood changed so quickly after the Chelsea win, into the Brighton win, and then the West Brom win, and then the Newcastle win, and it gradually picks up pace. In comparison to the mood when we were barely winning a game, and you've seen me angry, you've seen me straight after Raw reaction shows, straight after games, where I've been utterly fuming. Like the Burnley, if you go and watch me in the Burnley Raw reaction show, I'm so angry at the performances that, and then to compare that to how I feel now, it is very different. And even I can admit to being a bit reactionary sometimes, and then with time and with reflection, you see that things are different. But yeah, it's very much a case of keep your feet on the ground, see where we're moving ahead. But I am happy again. I am intrigued. What's the right way to put this? I'm hopeful is probably the best word. I'm hopeful for the future, and I'm hopeful for the end of the season. And if we can continue this form, even if it's a case where we drop a couple of points here and there, because at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at the start of the Newcastle game, if you look at the first half of the Brighton game, if you look at the way in which we won the Chelsea game, there are still a lot of questions to be answered. There is still a lot of questions to be answered about some of the performances of the players within the team. And if he selects Willian to start tonight, I think that is a huge, huge problem, and one that should be very harshly criticised. But you have to look at where we're going and think positively, and think that there are going to be ultimately change. And if you as a person were Arteta out, which I'm sure lots of people were, and which we talked about on the show being a very justified kind of position to be in at the point where we were losing game after game after game. But what I hope is that the guys that were Arteta out and did not want him here as manager, whilst at the same time we're thinking that the best move for the club was to remove him from his position, were hopeful that if he was to remain in the job, that they would, or he would rather, turn things around, and that he would get better and he would change things. And that's where you should be. Now, unfortunately, I know that's not the case. Unfortunately, I've had people tweet me saying they would rather see Arteta fail than him turn things around, which is unbelievable. It's like, if that's your way of thinking, you're not really an Arsenal fan, are you? Because your default setting as an Arsenal fan should be wanting us to win the next game, wanting us to win whatever the next competition is, whether it's the League Cup, Europa League, FA Cup, Champions League, whatever, Premier League, who cares? Your default setting as an Arsenal fan should be that Arteta turns things around. And while we're on the subject of that, Willian. Now, don't get me wrong. In my mind, I'm thinking next transfer window, we should do our utmost to try and move Willian on. That's my view. That's my standpoint on Willian. However, if for some stupid, if we're being honest, reason, he does play, you should hope that he scores. You should hope that he turns it around. You should hope that Willian's performances get better. Because if you don't think that, if you don't want Willian to succeed, again, you're not supporting the team. You're not supporting the Arsenal. You're not supporting the club. You're not supporting the player. So whilst, like me, I'm sure many people would like to see the back of Willian and would like to see him moved on because it's probably the right thing to do right now, I still hope that he turns it around and that he does get better. But based upon the evidence we've seen so far, the logical way of thinking is to go, this hasn't worked. We need to move on from it. We need to try and get the wages off the bill. That's the logical way to think about it, for sure. Mr. A, who I'm willing to highlight people's comments that obviously disagree with me. It's the whole point of the show, is like we like to get different points of view. He says, why are we so hopeful that he is the one to turn it around, Tom? It's not the Mikel Arteta project, it's Arsenal FC. The default setting is for Arsenal to succeed, not the 3 years of Arteta. But Mr. A, surely you want Arteta to succeed, because if Arteta succeeds, that means that Arsenal succeeds. You can't really have one without the other. A success for Arteta is a success for Arsenal. Arteta's target is to get Arsenal back into the Champions League. So surely if Arteta succeeds, that's Arsenal succeeding. Do you not get what I'm saying? If that makes sense, please do respond. And as I said, I'm more than happy for you to put across a different point of opinion. Saeed says, Lo, if we didn't want Willian to get better, we would be stuck with him for years. But the thing is, I understand that point of view, and you say if you're saying that you want him to get better, that means we're going to have him forever. But your way of thinking should be is that we hope he gets better and maintains that level of quality for years. We've seen Willian at Chelsea do well. Like, he is a shadow of the player that he was playing at Chelsea. He is not that player. He's been way, 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 way far worse than he was at Chelsea. Much, much worse than he was at Chelsea. And so you're hoping that he can contribute the level of assists and the level of goals and the level of chances that he was creating at Chelsea. Why at the time I was like, oh, this is actually quite an all right signing. We're getting a guy for free. He's not going to cost us too much. Turns out I was wrong there. He cost us quite a lot. And I hold my hands up and say, I'm not sure I'd be as keen if I'd known more of the ins and outs of the signing on fee and the wages. But surely we'd want him to turn it around, right? Surely we'd want him to turn it around. Thapello says, not really, because if he scores, it means Arteta keeps him and I want him sold. But Thapello, surely if he's... I'm not saying... I think you need to get this into your head. I'm not saying that I want Willian to score in the next game so that he gets picked. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I want Willian to turn things around because it means he'll stay. I want Willian to turn things around and continue to do so for the rest of his Arsenal career. Does that make sense? I want him to be in form for the rest of the time that he's here at the club. Do I think that's likely? No, I'm not saying that it is. But you as a fan should want Willian to turn it around and perform to his best ability, score goals, create chances, and make assists for the time that he's at the club. Because if you don't, then that's personal. Like, that's a personal dislike of him as a person. But you should want him to turn things around. Surely. I'm with you that I think right now, based on the evidence that we've got, we should move him on. I'm with you. I'm there. But as a fan, as a supporter of Arsenal Football Club, you should want him to turn it around. You should. Like, you really, really should. Chris, stop asking that question. I'm not going to answer it. Oh, dearie me. Exo says, what do you feel is the reason for Willian's decline? I mean, thinking logically, and like, it makes sense that he signed his last contract. It's a lot of money. It's the last contract he's going to get. He's not playing for a contract at this point. It's probably in his head. It's probably maybe not necessarily downing tools per se, but I don't think he's performing at a level where he feels like he's under pressure to perform or that he needs to perform. That's how I feel when I watch him play. I don't see a player that is like putting 110% effort in, not even like 70% effort. I don't see that from him right now, which is, as I said before, all the evidence to suggest that he should be moved on, in my view. Mr. A says, Tom, surely improving the league position is the bare minimum. Signings like Willian at 32, getting rid of one player off the back of a season we finished 8th is genuinely perplexing. The thing is, like, that's more than just Arteta. Like, you can replace Arteta. The guys making those decisions are still making those decisions. But what I'm saying to you is I'm thinking, and from what I understand, is that Raul Sanllehi's removal and him going is a positive sign. And that and stuff like Willian, you hope will become less and less frequent in the decisions that we make. If you are Arteta and you are told that the only thing that you're going to be able to really do in the summer is not spend too much, and the only attacking player you're really going to be given is Willian or nothing, you're probably, based on the back of Willian's season for Chelsea, you're going to say, yeah, I'll probably take that. We don't know if that was the case, but Arsenal didn't sign any other attacking players in the window. We didn't sign any. And we weren't really linked to any either. We were linked to Aouar, who's like a creative midfielder, but we weren't linked to anyone that was going to back up the right wing spot. And Bukayo Saka's kind of become that player, but was always situated on the left more than this season. We had Pepe, and I thought Willian was coming in to kind of be the backup to Pepe and to give him that depth and give us an option if we needed it, not to be a starter. But Pepe's form has been dire. And I think Arteta's probably looked at Willian and said, well, if Pepe's not really performing week in, week out, he's not really working for me. If his form does dip, at least I've got a player that's performed at the top level for Chelsea to come in and replace when need be and give Pepe a bit of a break. I don't think... And I think what Arteta has got wrong is overplaying Willian and realising that, he's really not playing very well. The only way to get him to play better is to keep playing him. And I think that is a mistake on Arteta's part. But if you're Arteta and you're effectively said that it's either Willian or no other attacking player because we want to sign a midfielder and we want to sign a centre-back, I think you might be inclined to say, yeah, it's not my money and I need a player, so maybe I will take him. Vinny, who's upgraded his membership, again, thank you, Vinny. He's obviously showing something in training for Arteta to keep playing him. Hopefully now we have a better balance in our team that will be more effective. Maybe, Vinny, but maybe it's that Pepe is not showing that as well because he's the only really other alternative. Now we've got Saka playing on the right has shown that he can do that role, and that's why he is our number one right winger, Bukayo Saka. But before it was just between Pepe and Willian, and I couldn't really see what Willian was showing Arteta to say, yeah, Pepe should be starting. And Willian shouldn't have been starting either. And that's why eventually we've moved on to Saka playing there. But it might not just be that Willian showing stuff in training, but it might also be that Pepe's not showing anything at all. At all. The Bella says, Tom, you're making excuses. I don't know what I'm making excuses for. I'm trying to explain to you the reasons as to why we are where we are and why things are happening. This is what I'm saying, is that I think there's a group of fans, I'm willing to say this, and I'm willing to call you out on it. I think there's a group of fans, like yourself, the Pello, like maybe Mr. A, like Joe, like Yannick, maybe less so Yannick, he's kind of growing a bit now. But it doesn't matter what happens, you're always going to want the manager gone. Like, you're always going to want him to go. You're always going to want him to go away. I could have said other words. And I can't change that. I can't change your view. And the thing is, I'm much more open, and I've had my opinion changed quite a lot this season on different things. My opinion on Arteta very nearly changed, and then he started to turn things around, which is great, as I always wanted him to. So my question is to you, Thapello, is do you want Arteta to succeed? That's my question. And by that, what I mean is if Arteta succeeds, then Arsenal succeeds. So it's a simple yes or no, I suppose. Do you want Arteta to succeed? Is the question. Mr. A says, but Tom, when the margins for error are so small in the market, and instead of getting a good deal as far as an attacking player, we get the worst possible deal and turn down 80 million in player sales. You're going to need to explain that a bit more. I need the context. Mark says, do you think that we should sell Pepe as soon as possible? Having an 80 million pound rotation player is too big. I mean, the logical argument, Mark, is to say yes. I don't think you're going to get anywhere close to that. But if he's not showing it week in, week out, and he's not showing any signs of improvement, because I don't think he ever will, because I just don't think the system and the league is suited to Pepe whatsoever. I just can't see him succeeding. I can't see him as having that impact and that play that he had at Lille. I can't see that Pepe at Arsenal, because it's not the same environment. It's just not the same situation. I'm trying to think of an analogy that would work. What's the best? I'm putting my chef hat on. I'm trying to think of a food analogy. What's an example? I can't think of one. But it's like, I'm sure someone in the chat was coming to think of one. It's if you take a player out of an environment where if you take a flying fish out of water and put him in a desert, they're not going to survive. That's the best way I can kind of, justify it, really. Such a bad analogy. Oh, God. I do have to watch it with you. You're right, Renat, and I'll be on with him later. Ross says, are you worried about the mentality of the team if we pick up a loss? Yeah, of course. I think we've got a very mentally fragile team. And thankfully, we've got a game against Newcastle in a very short amount of days. So on Monday. So we have recovery day Friday, training Saturday, Sunday, and then the game on Monday. So it's a quick turnaround. So there's a chance to put it right if things do go wrong. But fingers crossed, we get the win tonight. Really, really hope we do. As I'm sure all of you do. Really hope. There you go. Yes, you do hope he succeeds. I'm so glad you're not falling into that bracket of fans, the Pello, and that's why I always read out your comments, even though you disagree with me. Tom says, Pepe needs a solid midfield with creativity to show his talents. He definitely can be way more lethal and effective once we finally sort out our midfield. Maybe, Tom. I personally think that the space that you are allowed in the Premier League just doesn't allow Pepe to succeed. And I'm not sure if he has the right players around him either to flourish. And I'm not sure we have that personnel. I think he needs to be played closer to the striker. And we don't seem to play with the right winger that does that. Even Saka hasn't done that. And this is the thing, is now with Bukayo Saka playing so well at right wing, why would we invest further in Pepe? Because if Saka's going to be the future of Arsenal Football Club for the next 10 years at right wing, I'm all for that. And I'm happy for us to bring through other players like Reece Nelson as backup. I'm happy for us to sign maybe some players that are going to be depth. But Pepe is too expensive to be depth. He's too much of an asset that we've spent too much money on to just fritter away and do what he's doing now when he costs that much. You may as well cash in on what we've got while we've got it, while his stock is still at the level it could be, than persist with him being a squad player. He's too expensive to be a squad player. You can't have that level of money spent on a player that's just going to be... Because we're not United, we're not City, and we're not Chelsea. We don't have that level of money. We can't spend 30-something million on Luke Shaw and then sign Alex Telles, a 28-year-old left-back, for the amount of money they bought Alex Telles for, to be a replacement because Shaw's not been good enough. We can't spend the money they spent on Lindelof and Bailly and Maguire and keep signing centre-backs. We can't spend the money that they've spent on midfielders and forwards and wingers because it not work. If a player doesn't work like Pepe, we can't just let them fritter away their value. We just can't afford to do that. So you need to just get the player gone and out for as much money as feasibly possible. Daniel Roberts says, is Saka the best young talent in the Premier League? Yeah, surely. I mean, he's better than Greenwood. He's better than Reece James. Foden comes. I mean, Foden and him are pretty much on par. I think they're the two that you'd look at and say, yeah, like Foden's an amazing player. So, but it's between those two. You have to say it's between those two. Yeah, Tellez was only 12 million. Yeah, he was. He was only 12 million quid. And what I'm saying is, Arsenal can't afford to spend 12 million on a backup. Like, we can't afford to spend 12 million on a backup at all. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the wages I'm sure he's on as well are sizable. It's like, we can't afford to do. And they have Brandon Williams there. He's a versatile fullback who can play right or left back. And yet they still went out and spent 12 million on Tellez. Like, it just, for the age profile, it made no sense. It made no sense. Eze is a good shout, Peter. Really, really good shout. And hopefully he stays quiet tonight. Nico says Foden is levels because his team is levels. If Saka was at City, he'd be Sancho levels. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, but I still think Foden is kind of really showing Guardiola why he should be playing week in, week out, even in that great team. Alex Bartnick says, I'm really against this hierarchy. Who's the best young players, blah, blah, blah. Just enjoy Saka as he is and let the Don flourish. It's a great mindset to have, Alex, and I don't blame you for having that mindset at all. We shouldn't sleep on our youngsters, but we shouldn't overhype them, and we should appreciate them while we've got them. Ansgar Wagner, fantastic name. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, mate. He says, hi, Tom. I was wondering if you could tell us what your goalkeeper target for the summer or maybe even now would be. I'm thinking homegrown players for that position should be our target. I saw a really odd tweet the other day. I replied to it, and I can't remember who it was by. He was saying that we were interested in Rui Silva at Granada and some other players. And I was like, mate, that makes no sense. Like, Arsenal want to sign a homegrown goalkeeper. They're not going to be going out to sign Rui Silva. And they want David Raya. That's Arsenal's target. That'd be my target. I think Raya's quality. He counts as homegrown, even though he's Spanish, because he's been in the UK and he's come through, I think it was Blackburn's academy. So he counts as homegrown, quite like Hector Bellerin does. And I think he'd be a great backup keeper. I mean, he has the potential even to like compete with Leno, and that's what you want. You want two keepers that are going to compete with each other. So that's who I'd go for, Ansgar. That is who I'd go for. Ed says, the money on Pepe is lost already. For his sake and the club, just get what you can and don't worry when he puts up big stats in Liga. Yeah, again, and this kind of bleeds into the Balogun argument, is that you can't have so much fear about letting a player leave that they go and do well somewhere else. You can't have that fear because you'll just never sell a player. Like, Pepe might go on to play in La Liga or Liga and have amazing stats. That might happen. But you can't linger on that, and you can't let that be the reason why you never move on from a player. Because there's been so many players that have moved on and done jack. So it doesn't make any sense for us to sit there and go, yeah, let's keep hold of this guy. Because like, why? Why bother? Matthew says, when is Partey going to feature? Today! Partey is in the squad tonight, which is great. That's the information that we've got from Simon Collins of The Standard. So, yeah, he's in the squad, which is great. Can't wait to see Partey play. If he does start, I don't know if he's starting or if he's on the bench. I'd start him. He's been playing enough time now. I'd start him based upon the best medical advice, of course. But yeah, start the guy. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that we could get it done. He says Pepe and cash for Anthony, who is the Ajax Brazilian guy. I don't know too much about Anthony at Ajax. I have not been looking into him. He's not a player that's on my radar at the moment. So I don't know if Ajax would be up for that. 14 games, 7 goals, 7 assists this season is very good. How old is he? 20-something? Yeah, 20. So yeah, there's a lot of potential in there, kid, seemingly. I will have to do a little bit more research. And if we get linked to him, then yeah, party time. Yes, party time. Emojis in the chat from our members. DWTT says Balogun isn't being sold. He's leaving. Isn't that the big issue? Players leaving with value and Arsenal not getting anything for them. Yes, it is. That is an issue. but kind of the ship's kind of sailed with the Balogun situation. It's now, and it's the hypocrisy of seeing Balogun go for nothing, people moaning about Rob Holding getting a new contract, when we should do our best to preserve the value of players, especially ones that are playing well, which Rob Holding has done. He's played well this season. And when it comes to youngsters like Tyrese John-Jules, we need to work better on those. We need to learn from the mistake with Balogun. We need to make sure that we sign these young players to contracts as soon as their contracts start to run down with Aziz and etc. Don't let them get to under 2 years. As soon as they get to 2 years, get them signed onto a deal or sell them. That's how it needs to happen. Either sign them up with 2 years left on their deal or sell them. You can't let them run down to a year. You just can't allow that situation to manifest. As soon as it gets to 2 years, you sign them up or you sell them. It's as simple as that. It's an easy rhetoric to push through. It's an easy situation to instill. And it's something that eventually becomes the norm and that players get used to and that players will understand that if you don't sign your deal with 2 years left, see you later. That's just what needs to happen. Mr. A says the ship sailed because we didn't make the right decision about it. Yeah, and I'm not saying that we didn't. I'm not defending Arsenal in the Balogun situation. We handled the situation horribly. All I'm saying is that we need to just get over the Balogun situation and then worry about the next guy. Worry about the next player that comes through. That ship has sailed. It's done. It's gone. Don't cry about it. It's over. Worry about what happens next. If Arsenal make the mistake again after this whole change of structure and with Richard Garlick coming in as the contracts guy, if it keeps happening with him there, then they've made a big error again. And then you can throw your criticisms at the club's way. We're done. We're done, Balogun. Move it forward. Rafael, we were linked and then he retired. Is he actually retired now? Is that a confirmation? Is he full on retired? I haven't actually seen that if it's been confirmed. Tom says we lost the keeper option. Rafael unfortunately decided to retire from playing and joined Bayonne. Bayonne? I haven't heard of them. Who are Bayonne? It's a city in France. I didn't even know they were a team, and they must be in a lower league. Interesting, very interesting. That's a shame because he was only 34, I think, and for a keeper, that's not that old. No Sleep says Willian seems to be a player whose performance reflects the team's. He looks like a luxury player, much like Ozil, except without the luxury. Hamir says happy for Holding. People seem to forget each team needs to have their homegrown talents when competing in Europe. Exactly, it's a good thing we signed up to a new deal. I don't understand the criticism of it at all. It makes absolutely no sense to criticize the Holding contract. It's silly, really silly. Alex says, really happy for Holding. I like the lad. Glad to have him retained his value and rewarded for the under-the-radar good performances. Spot on, mate. Vinny says, Balogun could easily flop. Balogun could be a flop. Hardly any youth players make it at the top level. The likes of Lupoli, Ali Adier. Ali Adier. I mean, I know Jeremy, and speaking to him, he was very hampered by injuries. And I get that's your point. I don't think it was a lack of talent with Ali Adier at all. It was certainly to do with the injuries that happened to him. It was when he actually got playing, he moved to Lorient in France and had some of the best time of his career. But I get what you're saying. Jet, Akpom, all looked amazing at youth level and then they didn't make it. And Balogun could get an injury. Balogun could ultimately get an injury and it absolutely wreck him. But that could happen to anyone. It's like the people that blamed Arteta for the Martinelli injury. That was just stupid. How can you blame a manager for a happenstance injury when this guy's been rested against West Brom, needs to be getting playing in minutes? Of course you play him against Newcastle in the FA Cup. Of course you would. Madness. What? There's a police officer behind you, Tom. What are you on about? David Bentley. Matthew De Souza says, what's happening with the Europa League and COVID restrictions? I don't know. I imagine it's just carrying on as per. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything about it changing right now. A says, we are being harsh on our centre-backs. We have average defensive midfielders. Ability. I think Holding's been exposed so many times this season. He's really, really been exposed. Thapello says, Tom, what will be your reaction if Xhaka and Bellerin sign new deals? I'm actually going to lose one. I think it would be wrong to renew Xhaka. The only way it would make any sense to renew Xhaka is if like we lost all of the centre midfield depth that we have and we didn't sign anyone. Because then you'd be left with no one. But even then, it should be on the club to sign the players. Like we shouldn't re-sign Xhaka. Bellerin's a weird one. The thing with Bellerin is that he's such a different situation to Xhaka. Like they're so different in situations. And I think Bellerin's been good since like in these run of fixtures when we've been winning. It's when we're losing, he is often one of the people that is at fault for some of those and leaves the likes of Rob Holding exposed. But when you've got the lack of depth at right back that we do, and I don't think Mainsley is a right back, and I don't rate Cedric at all, it's a tough one. And if his contract gets down to the point where he's worth nothing, when he's actually quite a valuable asset and someone that could be sold, I don't think it's too much of an issue. Xhaka, I agree with you. Bellerin, I'm not as inclined in that way. Vinny Eagle says, what's your view on the games being postponed due to COVID cases? For me, it's the players and the club's fault for exposing the players. Surely they should have to play their youth like Celtic. Vinny, my honest opinion on that is that the players are, and this only goes for some of them, not all of them, but some of the players have been massively irresponsible. It's a very kind of personal issue for me because I work in the industry and my job is very much affected by if football stops. If football stops, I'm obviously in a very vulnerable position. And so when you've got a mortgage and a house and a wedding now to pay for, you obviously want football to carry on. And I'm biased in that sense to want football to continue because without it, I don't have a job. So it's very difficult to do that. But I get really angry when I see stories of players breaking the restrictions and having parties because you're in such a privileged position. And then you've got players like Marcus Rashford that are doing amazing things. And then you've got players that I'm not going to name names because it'd be unfair of me to pick out a specific player and forget loads of others. But I've reported on the ones that have from the information that's come out from all the ones that I've been able to see. But I'm not going to name a specific player now because I'd miss people out and it would come across as me being biased against certain players over others. But like what I will pick out is the positive actions of Marcus Rashford and that people and footballers should look at him as an example and that footballers should recognise that they're in very privileged positions. And I know that the relationship between the media and footballers can become strained. And that is unfortunately down to a select few of, there's discriminatory publications, if we're being very honest. I've gone on record and before on the channel in saying that Marcus Rashford has been treated in a discriminatory way. And I have absolutely no problem in saying that he has. By certain publications. Again, not going to name because I'd miss out some and it would look like I'm singling those out. But we've talked about specific publications on the channel in the past. So I've already gone there. But yeah, as you can say, it's quite an emotive topic for me because, and I'm glad you asked the question, Vinny. I don't feel like you shouldn't have done. But yeah, it's, Philip says, be careful with the COVID stuff, Tom, because they demonetize you. To be honest, Philip, I don't care. One video being demonetized for me saying how I truly feel about how some footballers have acted is fine. Like, It is what it is. Yes, this is my job. Yes, this is it. But my principles and what I stand for is more important than me earning a few quid on a video. So it's not, and it is only a few quid. So it's yeah. Sorry, I got very deep all of a sudden. Porky Pork says, couldn't agree more, bro. But has he been rushed back? I wouldn't say so many minutes per game as possible. Who are you talking about, Porky? I'm trying to work out who we were talking about. Maybe it's part. Maybe you're watching on delay. That's the problem sometimes. Russ says, you can't trust people. Look at Eze at Palace. Got fined for breaking protocol and went to the QPR match last week. People will ultimately do what they want. And Eze, he's an example of many players that have. I'm trying to avoid speaking about people specifically. Tom, stop lying, mate. You're loaded. I am not. I'm really not. My missus earns so much more than me, which is great because she's great. And she I mean, without her, there is this house doesn't exist. This wedding that's happening doesn't exist. Fair play to the woman. Fair play to her. She's smashing it. I'm not loaded at all. Live paycheck to paycheck, mate. I was very stable. I was much more stable teaching than I am now. Like, the reason why I quit teaching and moved into media is because it's a passion. It's what I love doing. I hated teaching. Hated it. The way in which teachers are treated, I have no problem saying this. The way I feel teachers are treated at some places is deplorable. And they are treated as if they're cogs in a machine and they are used. And that is how I felt. And that is why I wanted to leave. So now I feel valued where I am. I feel like I'm a person that contributes and I'm doing what I love doing. So I'm happy. And that's what the main thing is that I don't care that I'm earning less money. I don't care about that. I care that I'm happy. That's the main thing. I want to get successful in what I do. Of course I do. But my priority is not how much I earn. It is about how happy I am. And I'm much more happy doing this and writing about football than I ever was earning what I was earning doing teaching. It's honestly, it's way overrated, the pay wise. It really is. And teaching, for the amount of effort, even though it's a fairly it's well paid in terms of the general context of jobs, but in the context of how much work teachers have to do, it's not worth the money. It's really just not worth it at all. Matt G says, be honest, Tom, you hate the kids. That's not true. And actually, the best part of my job was when I was in the classroom. That was the best part of the job, was teaching. It's everything around being in the classroom. Those hours that I spent in the classroom teaching some amazing people, and you meet some amazing people teaching, and the kids are awesome. Yeah, there's some little shits. There are. You're always going to get that wherever you go. But I always wanted the best for every single kid in that class, and I enjoyed being in the classroom, and I had a great laugh, great time, really good fun, and it's really rewarding because you get to see some of those go off to do some amazing things. That's great. Love being in the classroom, but everything around the job is utter, where I was anyway, awful. DWTT says, Tom, happiness is first and foremost in our lives. Enjoy it. Yeah. Thank you, mate. Ed says, congrats. That takes a lot of courage. A spouse making good cash certainly doesn't hurt either. Yeah, she's doing a great job. So I was teaching geography, believe it. I think it's exciting. Maybe not excited, but interested. I find it interesting. Not human geography. Human geography is shit. But physical geography is great. Physical geography is great. Shut up, Dan. I'm not reading that comment. Nico says, you'll be bigger than certain fan channels for sure, Tom. We believe in you, mate. Thank you, Nico. And it's honestly doing this. And I like doing this bit where I just talk to you guys. Well, we've covered the news. We've covered that. And I don't mind if you click off the video because you came to talk about Arsenal. And we will still do that. I'm happy to talk for another 7 more minutes. I wanted to go for an hour. We can do that. But I like talking to you guys, honestly, about things. Don't hide anything ever. So thanks for the appreciative comments. They mean a lot. Well, this Arsenal channel took a tangent, says Jack. It did a bit, didn't it? Oh, dearie me. Blah, 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 blah. What? No, she would never give one due to what it would be. I was before I wanted to read this comment video before I highlighted it because I couldn't work it out, and then I realised what you were saying. Vin Eagle says the kids are getting their A's now, as you would never given one due to their work never being perfect. Because those that are long-time listeners to the channel, if you ever watched our match rating shows, which have stopped unfortunately because of time and time pressure and stuff. I never give 10 out of 10s. That's only for performance. And to be fair, I very rarely ever gave full marks, only purely because there's always room for improvement. My opinion of a kid's work is my opinion, and I can give the best educated guess of what I feel that it was worth, but there's always room for improvement, and you should always look to improve. Like, you look at the channel as an example. I'm always trying to improve it in every single way possible. And every single bit always goes into making the channel better. The membership that people pay to support the channel goes into making this channel as good as it possibly can be. Which you always go for. Sorry, but I prefer it. Yeah, it's either one of the two. It's either one of the two. Geography or history. You usually go one way or the other. That's where it goes. Ross Morgan says, "Oh yeah, Tom, are you putting Wenger on your Wall of Fame?" Well, the Wall of Fame right now is, Szoboszlai, for obvious reasons, Mainsley and Coquelin. They're on the Wall of Fame right now. We might have to extend the Wall of Fame a little bit bigger, but they've got the spots right now. So you've got to learn it. Philip says, "What's your team for later on, Tom?" Leno, Bellerin, Holding, Gabriel, only purely for rotation. I've rated Murray a lot, but it's only because he's played a lot of games. Tierney, Partey, Xhaka, Smith Rowe, Saka, Laka, Alba is the team. Very simple. How long a contract can you give to an under 18? It says No Sleep. I don't know if there's like a rule on how long you can give them a contract, but I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure you can give them any length of contract. Can you not? Rekic, for instance. Oh, he's 19, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know if there's like a cap. I don't know if there's a cap at all. The Flying Fish needs a spot, says Jack. Yeah, it does, to be fair. Flying Fish does need a spot, but it hasn't earned it yet. To be fair, the members, I've given them the emoji, and it feels like it's died ever since I gave them the emoji. Members, you need to get on using this emoji more often. I know it's usually after when we've won a game that they come out, but but yeah. No, good stuff. Have a good one, Joe. Always a pleasure to have in the chat, even when you disagree with me, mate. Keep tuning in, son. Lord says, did they make you teach PE as well? Humanities teachers seem to always teach every other subject. No, I was very lucky. Although I say that, I wouldn't have minded teaching PE. I'm quite a sporty person. If you saw from the work has begun. I am trying to get back in shape again. I don't consider myself too bad, but I was described once in the chat as a fat Emerick Laporte, which it cut deep. It did cut deep. If I'm being fair, it cut real deep. We're getting back on the running. We did a 5K the other day. It took me 38 minutes, and I probably walked about 2 kilometers of that. But it's a start. And today I feel terrible. My legs are wrecked. So we're getting back. We're going to get in shape for the wedding. That is the plan. 2022, August. That is what we're aiming for. Tom's going to get absolutely shredded. I'm going to get absolutely shredded. You're going to see these chiseled cheekbones start coming through on the podcasts. I'll need to get a better quality camera and maybe start applying some contours. But you never know. Nico says Tom was teaching pottery class. I very much doubt it. Yep, you could all laugh at the fat Emerick Laporte. I've got thick skin. I can take it. You can't be an Arsenal content creator if you don't have thick skin. That is for sure. Flight from Portugal being banned about the Benfica game. If that's the case, Daniel, what sometimes happens is if there's like flight paths that are banned, there's two things that happen. Either one, there's special dispensation, or they play the games at neutral venues. So Benfica would travel to a country where they can. We would travel to a country where both clubs can travel to, and it would be played at a neutral venue. That's how it would work. Tapello says, is the wedding going to be on stream? No, she would kill me. There will be pictures. And I mean, some of the guys I've invited from America are going to be coming over, I'm sure. So that'll be fun for them to film plenty of it. So you'll see. I'm sure you'll see plenty, but there's still a long way to go. I could still mess it up. Before then. So, don't count your chickens before they've hatched. Easy Owl says, I feel like watching Fever Pitch would be an inside look at your existence prior to the move. Matt G says, I'm trying to explain to my missus what this channel is about. She thinks it's flying fish and Tom getting shredded. Matt G's missus, it's about Arsenal, but we do tend to go off on a couple of tangents. But you should know that Matt's an excellent guy and he's a valued listener of the show. So you've got a good one. Victor says, more like Emerick Laporte. Jesus Christ. Oh, that's made my day. This is great. Yeah, you can keep slamming me. You can keep slamming me all you like, guys. Come on. This is like roast Tom. Jesus. Tattoo analysis on the missus pending. She's a 10 out of 10. That's all you need to know, mate. That's the tactical breakdown on the missus. Do you know what I love doing on Hugh Wizzy's watch along? If you do tune in later, I'll be on with Hugh Wizzy later. But Mrs. Wizzy, her interjections on the watch alongs are great. Love Mrs. Wizzy tuning in on the watch alongs. It's absolutely fantastic. Victor, I swear to God, that is so funny. Fair play. I wouldn't have showed it if I didn't find it funny. So there you go. Dwight Pork. Goodness sake. Oh my! I tell you, the podcast guys are going to love that joke. I feel like we've peaked. I don't feel like we can get any further with today's show. Oh man. Yeah, I thought, to be fair, you've broken my rule, Victor. You've broken my rule. I gave you a 10 out of 10. I never give 10 out of 10s. I never give 10 out of 10s. I'm not even that. Am I really that bad? I feel so self-conscious. I don't think I'm that bad at all. And you guys have just got me today. Sam says, super busy today. Just stopping by to show support and tell people to smash a like. Looking forward to the watching back later. Thanks, Sam. You're an absolute legend, mate. I really appreciate your support. Mike says, I dare you to rate your fiance, or to be fair, we're calling her fiancée, which is really annoying her of late, because there's always room for improvement. She has bad days. Look. Oh, I'm getting called now. I can't pick that up. I'm getting phone called. She's watching. She's watching me. Oh God, Victor, absolute legend. Absolute legend. Saeed says you're going to be doing a review, a raw reaction to my marriage on the 80th birthday. If this channel is still going when I'm 80, we have peaked. Utterly peaked. Big Selt says, plot twist, the fiancé is Soboslai. Oh, Porky Porks, who is one of our members, says you can be Le Porky Pork if you like. Oh, this is brilliant. I don't want to end the show, but I said I was only going for an hour, and I have to. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been emotional. It's been hilarious. I will see you straight after the game and for the Raw Reaction show. So make sure you do tune in straight after the game. Set those notification buttons on. Make sure you like the video of today and subscribe if you're new. And check out Hugh Wizzy for our watch along a little bit later on this evening. I'll be joining him to talk through the Crystal Palace game, where fingers crossed we've come out with a victory. Really appreciate your time, guys. As always, much love, much support, and as always, up the Arsenal.